Hi, everybody. I am going to give you a side-by-side taste test of the probably most commonly used sizes of beads because when I'm not picking blackberries in the wild, watch out, sorry about my blackberry stained hand there. I'm doing beading even when it's nice and sunny outside. So people who start out with seed beads are kind of a nice problem to have. There are a lot of choices available to them, and they hear a lot of advice. Oh, I only use Tohos. Oh, I only blah blah blah. Well, I'll tell you, anything with a hole in it is a bead, and I will use that. Therefore, what I'll do is I will use sometimes Czech seed beads with Japanese seed beads and so on, and even those vintage beads that are really wonkily sized. So I want to share with you an experiment I did. I thought, okay, I'm gonna really get the dope on these, like where what's where and when and how and big as all these beads are. Um, because I'll use different sizes, but I kind of I know from experience what I've been doing, so I want to make sure you are A, not afraid to do that, but B, doing it in an informed way, sharing using different bead sizes together. So the check size 11s, excuse me, I wrote that wrong. This is a check size 10. Check size 10s and 11s are actually kind of on either side, sidewise, size-wise of the Japanese seed beads. And even the Japanese seed beads, which have such a wonderful reputation for being exactly precise, aren't always exactly precise. These are one brand of Japanese, this is another company's Japanese, and you can see there's a difference. The way I did this to be somewhat pseudoscientific about it was that I used the exact same number of beads in each sample type. So I made it 12 beads wide by 20 rows high. So you can count on each side of each one of these 10 beads. And because of peyote stitch working as a brick pattern, side to side kind of steps, so to speak, that's actually 20 rows when you count 10 beads up the side. I did that for each one of these, and I wanted to show you, yes, size 10 in check is actually as wide as a one of the major Japanese seed bead brands. It's actually less wide than, and this is ostensibly a bigger size. It's like wire gauges. The lower the number, the bigger the bead. So size 8 is going to be larger. Size 60 is going to be larger than that. But even so, because these are made in Czech and not Japan, they are made differently. They come out looking more like bagels or donuts. These are more like tubes. Delicas are more like perfect tubes with bigger holes or big holes for their size. And these are Japanese 15Os. We'll get to that in a minute. The difference in diameter, now I'm looking at side to, when I put this here, I'm looking at the distance from one end of the hole to through the hole to the other end of the hole. In other words, from the North Pole to the South Pole, so to speak, when I put them up here, so you can see how much narrower these are. And even within the Japanese world of seed beads, two different companies, two different widths. Hence, that's why some people go, oh, I only use Tohos, I only use Matsunos, whatever. So there's the other direction, however, which is the distance around the equator, the diameter of the bead. And that affects the up in this dimension. That's why even though these are narrower, they are wider in the circumference of the bead, going on the bias of the hole. So look how much longer that is. Same with, now with these guys, you can see let's see. These are size check size 10, excuse me, size 10s versus size, check size 11s. There's a corresponding difference in width. There's a corresponding difference in length. But again, sometimes some bead stores will only carry Japanese seed beads. Some bead stores will only carry one brand of Japanese seed beads. This might be why they don't want their customers to complain. And I'll go into delicas briefly, but before I do that, I'll say that the main difference, if they don't tell you or if it's not labeled as such, these come in already strung in hanks. They're meant to be restrung, but they're strung in hanks because it's very photogenic that way, I guess. They look good that way. These come in tubes, etc. Delicas come in tiny tubes because they're more expensive. Uh, Generally, all the check beads could be presented on hanks, and usually the size 10s and 11s are. Not always the size 8s, not always the size 6s, but hey, that's a display preference more than anything else. Um, the difference with delicas is delicas can be labeled a size. Let me scoot in on that and get it focused. Delicas can be labeled. Come on, baby. Focus, sesame. Come on. Ah, doesn't want to focus. Come on, baby. One more try. There we go. These are size 11 Delica hexagon shapes. And don't ask me why they're called size 11s, because look at the size compared to that. Look at the size compared to that. That's not a seed bead size 11. Definitely not. Not even compared to check. But there are Delica size 8s and Delica size 10s. So that's applicable just within the Delica format. Delicas are different because they're very nicely shaped. The holes are big for their size. They're easy to use. And they're even beads that are called Icos and Toho treasures that are like Delicas, except you won't even find a single one with a flaw in it. When I was doing this small sample, even with the small number of beads I used, I did find one that didn't was kind of oddly shaped that I had to discard. So if you really want precision and you're doing a flat, straight piece like this, yeah, go for Delicas. They're good that way. The nice thing about the Japanese seed beads is that they are more tube shaped, barrel shaped rather than donut or bagel shaped, and that's good for this type of format or this type of work. I will make a quick pitch for check seed beads because that donut or bagel shape actually is very here and here is very useful for sculptural work and figural work and things that are not flat square. But I also want to advocate, and I'll use a strong word for it, against segregation. And I apologize if that's a triggering word, but I want to use that word because it has such strength to it and such impact, because I want to advocate for not segregating your beads. Let me get this focused a little better, because I'll show you a piece that is my poster child for, come on, baby, there we go, is my poster child for not segregating your beads, because these, depending on the type of work you do, in other words, if it's anything other than what I just did here, you can get away with it. In this piece, I used not only Matsuno, this color, and two colors of Toho's, this color and this color, but I used a size 10 vintage Italian bead that is kind of a quasi size 10. It's kind of halfway between a size 10. It's maybe a little bigger than size 10, but is there a size 9? Well, only in vintage beads. But look, I got away with it. This is a piece that I am doing, still working on in the round. And as you can see, it doesn't need to be flat square. I'm making it for the purpose of the piece that I'm making it flat, but I don't have to only use one type of bead and one size of bead to use that. Admittedly, for this piece, just for this piece, I will not use size 8 or size 6, which are much larger. But yes, I will use beads that are, you know, this different from each other. And remember how different just these two were, right? Well, I've got that size and that size, and then I have a bigger size in there. And I'm not going to like try to hump my own leg as in terms of my satisfaction with this piece, but I think it works. So on that happy note, yes, this is an anti-segregationist rant. Use all your beads, use them together, experiment with them. Different techniques such as herringbone are a lot more forgiving than other techniques. Open weave or netting is very forgiving in terms of using multiple sizes and shapes even. So again, if you want to do this yourself, do this when you buy a batch of beads. Make a little patch of it. It won't take you that long to do. And do that for all your other beads. Maybe I don't know how many beads you have and how much time you have, but do that for as many beads as you can until you, at least till you get bored, and compare them. And then again, mix them together, try it out, see how it goes. You might discover that they can get along very, very nicely together and have a lot of fun together. So on that happy note, I will find the little button that stops this recording. Before I go, I will ask you to like and share the video and recommend it to a friend if you do, if they might benefit from it. And I hope you have a great time beading or watching other people bead or helping a friend bead or being with a friend in a store and actually not getting overwhelmed. So take it easy and I hope to see you next time. Bye.